So Ken, you've written a lot on the spiritual rhythms of a pastor's life, and you've written that's kind of one of your life themes. It seems like, Ken, and something the Lord's really done in your life is to develop that within you. So if you're doing that really well, what would that look like in your Christmas sermon prep? What would that look like as you're approaching, well, maybe even starting right now, and then going through all the way through Christmas? Because I think one of the reasons why Christmas preaching is hard is we're just tired. We've had a hard fall. We've run really hard, and we're heading into Christmas. And man, I got to say something fresh, and I'm tired. I'm looking forward to the vacation after Christmas. So anyway, what would those rhythms look like in your life, Ken?
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about my preaching prep rhythms. You talk about being tired. Some years ago, I was visiting my seminary, Morgantown, just north of Boston, and went in to see my former professor of preaching, Haddon Robinson, who obviously at the time was alive. And I said, "What are you learning about preaching?" And he said, I've learned recently that the creative cycle occurs over a 10-day period. And so if you want to preach your best sermon, start at least 10 days in advance. And at that time, I was preparing on the Thursday before, had all this pressure to get something done on the Thursday, and my sermons were lousy. And so I changed my rhythm. It took the pressure off. It enabled me to approach sermon prep more prayerfully. And then some years ago, our worship and arts pastor, John Williams, asked me what I thought about the idea of getting a devotional reading into the hands of our parishioners to prepare for Advent and the messages. And I said, I think it's a great idea. And so he recruited some writers from within our congregation that volunteered to do this. And the writers wanted the devotional guide or the sermon so they could prepare their devotional guide 3 weeks ahead of time. And so if you're following me, which meant that I had to start preparing my sermon a month ahead of time and get it done in about a week, at least the first draft, and get it to the writers. And so what that means is if I'm thinking of, say, one of the Advent Sundays, Sunday, December the 6th, it means that I start preparing on November the 6th. It gives me a kind of 1 month runway. It takes the pressure off. I don't have to worry about being tired because I'll have another day to look at it. And it helps me to enter into the text more worshipfully, let God come to me through it without the pressure of having to come up with something, for other people. And so that's been really helpful.
Yeah. And how about your prayer life rhythm, Ken? How is that? Why don't you just say a few words to pastors about that? Because I know that's something you've thought about a lot and written about a lot.
I begin my mornings with a light and leisurely run with our golden retriever. And then I come back to my home and I'll engage in some silent, centering, meditative prayer, maybe for 20 minutes, maybe for half an hour. If it's an unusually busy day or I have a crucial conversation coming up, I know I'll need maybe 50 minutes or an hour. And I find that as I sit in silence before God and just receive and tune into God's presence, even though I tend to be very distracted, I find that I'm coming out of that space more relaxed, more creative, more fierce if I need to be. And so I feel that connecting with God, especially in silence, creates space for me to be more open to the voice of the Spirit and then directly feeds my preaching. So that the two really work in tandem.